I'm a huge fan of professional compact cameras. Cameras like the Lumix LX10, the Fuji X100V, and the A7CR are all cameras I've truly enjoyed using. So I thought the Ricoh GR III HDF would be an obvious choice for me, but after 3 days, I'm returning it, so let's dive into why. Starting off with the first issue for me, autofocus. Now I knew going into it that the AF wasn't going to be great, but honestly, it was worse than I expected. This is something that the review videos I watched on these cameras didn't really touch on well. They said the autofocus was bad, but they didn't go into detail. I found that when I was placing my focus point directly on the subject, the camera would still miss focus or hunt or take too long to focus, and it led me to missing some really great photos. I think a lot of people defend the bad autofocus on the Ricoh GR series because of the amazing snap focus feature. And this feature is really cool. It's a way to zone focus with the camera, and if you're into zone focusing, you'll really like it. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of zone focusing, and I just felt like the snap focus feature was kind of a workaround for Ricoh saying, yes, we have bad autofocus, but look at this cool feature that you might want to use. It didn't really do it for me. Zone focusing through this snap focus feature is a really cool experience, and it's awesome they included it, but it's still not autofocus. There's no tracking with the zone focus system. You can't get pinpoint accuracy as much as you would with the good autofocusing system. So sure, it's got snap focus, but it still has bad autofocus, even if it has snap focus, and snap focus isn't making up for the bad autofocus. The second reason I'm returning the camera is the focal length. Now I'll admit, I'm new to 28mm, and I don't use it often, so maybe I didn't give myself enough time to get used to it, but right off the bat, it didn't feel like it fit my style. I remember when I tried using the 35mm focal length for the first time, and it clicked instantly. It's just how I see the world. 28mm wasn't that for me. I found myself constantly cropping or not being able to get close enough to my subjects, so I think 28mm is a good focal length. I'd be able to adapt over time, but I just prefer 35mm. If you're similar to me, the GR III X may be a better option for you. The third reason I'm returning the camera is because of the build quality. Now it's not bad, but when you're daily carrying a camera, you don't want to have to baby it, and I felt like with the GR III HDF, I did have to baby it a bit. The buttons felt like they wobbled a bit too much, the text in my menu button was a bit crooked, and obviously there's the known dust issues that just had me worrying about the camera breaking. I was afraid to leave it in my pocket, which is the whole point of this camera. Sure, there are ways people try and protect the camera, whether it's a metal lens cap or a case that they put it in before putting it in their pocket. Both these things just made the experience more clunky. It's a camera that you're supposed to be able to whip out and shoot really quick, and I didn't have that experience using a metal lens cap or a case in my pocket. It just slowed it down and it made the experience less enjoyable. The final reason I'm returning the GR III HDF is because of the X100V. When I got the GR III, I was thinking it would take the place of my X100V a lot of the time, but I found myself missing the X100V when I was out using the GR III. Now, I've never wanted to use an older camera over a brand new camera I just got, and the fact that I did in this case was the nail in the coffin for the GR III HDF. While the GR III and the X100V are both great at being compact cameras, I find the X100V to just be a little more versatile. I think that's largely due to the focal length, the buttons, and the weather sealing. Sure, the X100V is bigger than the GR III, and I think it's even bigger than I expected. Feeling the GR III in your hand is really amazing on how small it is, especially compared to an already small camera like the X100V, but the X100V was still small enough for me. I didn't really think I needed smaller after using both cameras, so it was easy for me to just settle with the X100V and return the GR III. Now, while I did decide to return the GR III HDF, it doesn't make it a bad camera. There were some things I really enjoyed, and first off was the size of this camera. The fact that it holds an APS-C sensor, a filter, and IBIS is insane. The lens on the GR III was also tack sharp. While it didn't hit focus as much as my X100V, when it did nail focus, the images looked super sharp, probably sharper than my X100V. The HDF filter was also super cool. I loved being able to toggle on and off a mist filter at a button press. It made getting that shot where you want the bloomed highlights super easy, but it didn't have to be on every shot like it would be if you had to screw on a filter like I have with my X100V. It's also a really unique looking filter. It's definitely different than that of a Cine Bloom or a Pro Mist. Reggie Ballstros, I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right, did a whole video breaking down the unique look of the HDF filter. I'll link it in the description. It's really worth a watch if you're interested in the GR III HDF or the GR III X HDF. I'd love to hear from GR owners and X100 owners on their experiences with these two cameras. Has anyone felt similarly to me, or am I just a bit crazy? Do you think I'm making a mistake by returning the GR III HDF? Because I'm still not sure. Let me know in the comments. For now, go ahead and create some content. Thanks for watching.